right, well, thank you everyone for coming in. I know hopefully everyone kind of files in for Todd's section later. But I first and foremost want to obviously thank everyone here for coming in early this morning. And I first want to start off with Lynn. So for any of you who don't know, this past September, Northwestern Mutual did a partnership with the Milwaukee Brewers to be the financial planning and jersey sponsor. So Lynn, talk us through that framework. How do you approach, obviously you're from Milwaukee, the Northwestern Mutual is from Milwaukee, so that makes a little more sense. But how do you approach a framework of a deal like that?
All right. So the deal came actually through a CEO and a CFO relationship. And the conversation had started a year ago before I became CMO. And so they said, hold up, we're searching for our CMO. Let's wait till he or she gets here. But I share that story because I think it's something that brands need to be much more thoughtful about, right? Like we all know about the brand awareness that you get from a jersey patch sponsorship or any other sports partnership. But I think what makes the big difference is, as you know, CMOs are held to a level of accountability on the return on investment of our spend. And we all know that patch sponsorships are not cheap. Right, so when I came on board, I reopened that conversation with the Milwaukee Brewers, establishing relationships with their chief commercial officer, really trying to understand, what they would like to get out of our partnership as well. And so what we did was we put together a deal framework with the help of CAA. So we actually spent time figuring out who's going to be the best, partner for us as we undertake this negotiation. And who do we bring as our right partner? And so we went ahead and did that. So the deal framework, I'll reveal to you like the 5 aspects of our deal framework. So we don't just look at brand awareness and the lift of the brand, but we also look at things like, the conversion of leads. I know we're not expecting someone to watch something and buy the next day, but lead generation has to be part of your equation. We also looked at the commonality in our community efforts between the Milwaukee Brewers and Northwestern Mutual. We're both homegrown, Milwaukee-based brands who have a shared mission in community initiatives. So we looked at where there were intersections with Alex's Lemonade Stand, which is for pediatric cancer, the Ronald McDonald House, because these will be platforms that allow both teams, both brands, to come together and show up and kind of work towards a common cause for both organizations. So that was our third, right? So you've got brand awareness, lead generation, you have community efforts, community engagement. The fourth one, I think, is very critical, employee, client engagement, and field engagement. That's what we call client, employee, and field. Northwestern Mutual is we have 8,000 financial advisors. It's our way to connect with our communities. You can't buy online. And so we saw that engaging the financial advisors as being a big plus. I'll be there at spring training. I'm going to travel with the teams. The teams are going to show up in local markets. And we want our financial advisors to feel like they have a means of connecting and bringing their clients along. Yeah, so those are elements, and the last one was our recruiting campaign. We wanted to be sure that our brand was there leveraging the platform to better connect with interns and college athletes. So that was our fifth one.
Incredible, thank you. So I'm going to stick with the financial aspect. I'm going to go to Ed next, so I think he's going to have to steal a mic from somebody. So Ed, it's a little different. So Ed is the Chief Investment Officer at Canvas Worldwide. So Ed, talk to us on kind of the approach from investment side. How do you kind of, what's success look like in that kind of space? Because I don't think we heard a lot of that yesterday, so I'm curious your thoughts.
Sure. So Canvas, for those who don't know, we're an agency. I'm coming at it a little differently because we have a roster of clients that we have to execute for. So with the roster of clients we have, our categories range from autos to entertainment to real estate. We do have quite a robust sports marketing practice. And with that comes a lot of complexities when you're negotiating across this roster of clients with a number of not just leagues, but media companies, creative agencies. And really, our biggest challenge is getting all of those sides together. So we have amazing collaborative clients, which is really helpful. The other thing that's helpful is Canvas is a great size to execute these marketing programs because we're not so big. We're not a huge holding company. We are the size where we can actually collaborate a lot, not just with the clients, but with the leagues and with the media companies. We get very deep into it, and the fact that our clients are so involved and give us clear direction is really the key. As Lynn was saying, I think it's important to set up those objectives and those KPIs early and very clearly and communicate them early. That's the key in making sure that all the parties involved are on the same page and working together. As far as success, I mean, right now in this day and age, a couple of years ago, I think you had very soft metrics for success. But these days, with all the data and the technology, we have every deal that we do has a measurable outcome, which is really helpful in driving all these businesses.
Awesome. So this isn't a shameless plug, I promise, but at System 1, we measure creative effectiveness. And we know that storytelling is a big kind of part of that. So obviously, if anyone saw Leslie Miller in the Hellman's ad, it was a great example of how storytelling can help a brand. So Paul, I'm curious, how do you and Sodexo Live bring storytelling into the live kind of event environment?
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I think for us, for those who don't know Sodexo Live, we are a stadium concessionaire. We're very different, probably, from most of the other companies on this panel and this event. So I think for what we do, we bring to life food programs in the stadiums for fans. We bring together hospitality programs that attract fans and drive the in-person experience, right? So I think Lynn mentioned about the importance of having homegrown brands and homegrown connection. We bring it to life through restaurant partners and through culinary celebrated chefs in the local markets to really activate this story of if you're going to a game or an event in XYZ Stadium in XYZ City, our goal is to make sure that you have a true foodie experience, a true experience of what that city has to offer from a food standpoint, to ensure that the story of the team, the story of that local city, comes to life in the form of the experience, and comes to life in the form of that delicious meal, that first game with a parent and a child. And for us, the story that we tell is through the food, through the hospitality, is through engaging the team in a way that connects physically with the fans that come to events. So it's very different from, I think, other folks here, but I think homegrown piece for us is one that really shines through.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. They didn't tell me I couldn't talk about it, and that's AI. If there's anyone to ask, it's going to be Kristin. So how is AI and tech kind of taking the fan experience and even sports marketing as a whole to the next level?
Yeah, who here is excited to talk about AI? For AWS, we really see sports as a vehicle to help tell our technology story. Obviously, AI, Gen AI, machine learning, those are sort of complex things for the layman to understand. So we use sports as a vehicle to tell that story in a relatable way. So we really partner with properties who embrace our technology, who share our passion for innovation, who use AI, who are curious about Gen AI, who use machine learning to help fuel their business and to help create engaging experiences for their fans. And so as I think, practical example, since we're all here at Super Bowl, some of the work we do at the NFL with next-gen stats, there are millions of data points that are happening on every single play, and we're really harnessing the power of that data and turning it into insights, and then sharing those insights with fans almost in real time. So hopefully you all have seen our next-gen stats, whether that be catch probability or win probability. I think AI is really foundational. Tech has been foundational for years. AI is foundational, it's not optional. Gen AI is foundational, it's not optional. So the partners and brands who are really embracing that and making that core to the experiences they're creating for fans are going to win. The pace of innovation is happening very, very rapidly.
Great. I'm going to stick with you for one more question, Kristin.
Sure.
And actually, just for the whole group. So if think about like Amazon, you probably have to like swap people away in terms of partnerships if they want to join you. So
I thought you were going to say I thought you sold books.
Yeah.
I hope we're over that.
But with so many sponsorships available, like what is your criteria and how do you identify partners or events that really fit with your brand?
Yeah.
What are the key things you're looking for?
Yeah, there's the obvious things, which is sort of geographical fit and demographic fit, but really it is that desire and passion to embrace our technology. So it really starts there. And then beyond that, because we want to be true to who we are, which is work with properties who use AWS, embrace our technologies. But from there, it's about embracing telling those stories in a really unique way, right? Again, it's a complicated thing. We don't sell a hamburger or a thing that customers know what it is. We tell a really complex technology story. So it's working with us in a creative way to bring those complicated stories to life. Another good example would be Formula One, where all of the cars have 300 sensors on them, and in real time, again, sort of similar to the NFL, data is being collected, and we're able to take that data, turn it into insights, share those insights with fans, and talk about how those insights, again, in real time, are informing the decisions that the teams are making. And those split-second decisions, in many cases, are the difference between winning and losing. And so we really want to work with brands who share that passion for telling the technology story in a relatable way.
And I guess, Lynn, same question. If for Kristin's technology, what for Northwestern Mutual is kind of like your staple in terms of finding a right partner?
Yeah, I think when we think about AI, the matching of a financial advisor with a prospect is critical, right? At the moment, we do have a scoring mechanism. We look at geography, we look at specialization, but there's so many more dimensions of that. And so that for us would be the clearest business case or use case. The other one that I think is interesting is as I think about how AI is going to help ingest massive amounts of content. When I think about any media brand, because at the end of the day, a brand wants to connect with that desired consumer who is the right geographic fit, demographic fit, behavioral fit, and content consumption can give you a ton of clues about it. So that would be like a huge ask of a brand is, for anyone sitting on media and content, is how do you help a brand connect more quickly and at a lower cost?
That's it. I guess that's a question for you. If someone, again, wants to pass the mic. I mean, from an investment standpoint, what's your criteria? What are you looking for?
Well, I think what it does in general is really helps you target and build those targets for specific brands. Again, we cover a lot of different brands within the agency. But, everyone's looking to get to a better target, a tighter target, to have less waste so that we don't spend as much money against it. AI takes us there in a fast way. And that's where we really see the biggest progression of AI, is tightening up those targets, eliminating waste, and just being better at driving to the right customers.
And I think for us, Kristin, when you touched on F1, for example, we operate F1 Miami Grand Prix, and we've got Indian Wells and Palm Springs coming up, and Paris Olympics this summer. And I think for us, the data piece is so crucial to know what concepts are working, to know what menu items are selling the most. And every time that we look at the overall scope of an event, the data informs our decisions. We need to know how to streamline our options to have, if there's 10 items and only 5 are best selling, perhaps those 5 are the ones that we offer next year around. Just hone in on those key favorites, and the data piece is crucial. Amazon does work app stores, for example, in Seattle, T-Mobile Park, enormous success to drive throughput, to drive revenue, and we tripled the amount that we had this past season because they were such a success, and the data piece is so crucial for planning on our side. So, yeah.
Thanks. All right, Paul, I'll stick with you for the next one. Let's just go down the row and ask the question. So with sport fandom becoming much more of a mass audience, we could probably thank Taylor for the majority of that.
We've got 9 shows this year.
Yeah, there you go. We're sharing now. Jess is in Tokyo. Yeah, she'll get here on Sunday. But what's your top tip for marketers who want to cut through the unfortunate noise that's out there and create truly memorable experiences for the fans?
Yeah, from where I sit, it's the authenticity. I feel like no matter what type of brand you are today, the story that you tell has to be authentic to the company you are and the company that you're trying to be. I think realistically, consumers are smarter than ever. I think they see through the sales pitch. I think folks are more informed than ever before, and I think that the better realness that you can provide, whether it's for us, we say we're B2B2C in a way, right? The more realness that we can provide to our teams, our venue partners, without trying to be something that we're not, truly helps. And I think that goes across the board. as we sit down to plan for the Super Bowl next year, actually, is ours in New Orleans. So we're already starting to kick it off. What those collaborations will be with local chefs in New Orleans, what those activations will be to help truly capture what New Orleans is as a food city, and the authenticity of that city has to shine through in our programs, and that's really what it's all about for us. So,
Ed, give us some tips, cut through the noise.
Yeah, no, I agree with Paul. Authenticity is really important. We're in a very cynical society right now, and I think people are very they're very conscious of BS and what to listen to and what not to listen to. On top of that, something more tactical. I think social media has become a real way to connect in a different way. So when you look at a lot of the broad reach, sports properties out there, I know that we've been very involved in activating against social media. And what that does is brings, in most cases, and you hope, an authenticity with a platform and maybe even influencers that are a trusted source.
Kristin, how do we cut through the noise?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's staying core to your DNA, making sure that you stay core to your value proposition and orienting your messaging to that value proposition so that your desired customer or prospect knows sort of what action to take away with. So totally agree with the authenticity piece.
And I'll just cap that. I think dialogue and co-creation are things that brands should think about to engage, because everybody wants to create and be part of the conversation. So I think about what it means to cut through. I think understanding the target audience, everything that Stephen Wolf said earlier. Steve Wolf, I think Pereira. I think those are all elements where, in order to be authentic, you have to demonstrate that you know the target audience and that you want to create something with them.
That's great. One more question before I ask your Super Bowl takes. Put everyone on the spot. What's like an untapped area or room for growth that you see for 2024 and moving on? What can we say this time next year that was like a really impact for sports marketing? Start with Lynn, and let's give us something that we should keep an eye out for.
Well, I think for me, I've always been a huge proponent of less. And I think brands are waking up to the fact that it's really not more that people are looking for. Just so much is demanding of their attention. So my guess for 24 is ways to actually focus and to help consumers give them the thing that they're interested in. So focus on less.
Kristin, what do you think?
I think personalization. It's something that fans and actually consumers across all industries are looking for. If you can't talk to an individual human in the way that they want to be spoken to, I think we're missing out. And so I think personalization is going to become more pervasive, given that is what customers are demanding. And I think in sports, properties are really grappling with how they do that at scale, and that's one of the ways AI is going to help sports marketers and properties. So yeah.
I'll say 2 words: Taylor Swift. And I'm not saying that she's going to be involved in everything, but it's a good lesson that we're seeing this year in media. The impact that a single person could have on an entire sport and the new audience that she brings. I think there's going to be a lot of case studies done and say, okay, well, if we bring, I think there's going to be a lot more, I don't know if you want to call them influencers or, more celebrity names that get involved in sports in 2024 on the heels of this, because there just really is, it's bringing a whole new audience to a sport, it's bringing a whole new interest, and it's bringing something other than the sport itself, it's bringing kind of a personality.
I don't want to offend anyone here, but I wonder what would happen if Travis Kelce was on like the Panthers or something. I wonder if we'd get some of this hype. But anyway, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, obviously, Taylor Swift, I think has just shown the value that people have, the appetite that people have to do cool things together. I mean, realistically, the appeal of a Taylor Swift concert, the appeal of the storylines, and seeing it all kind of coalesce in the form of football right now, I think it's showing the true value of these big moments. Realistically, live sports is live sports and award shows, right? As they say, are the real tentpole moments for culture right now. And I think it just shows that over the last few years, the appetite to have these really cool connections and these really cool events is stronger than ever. And so, yeah, we've got 9 Taylor Swift shows coming up. We're actually planning, the coolest possible cocktails inspired by the Eras Tour, the upcoming album. So I think the more that we can really be creative in making these events really stand out for every tier of fan is crucial, and the appetite is stronger than ever. The per caps, that as we call them, the amount being spent at these events is increasing every single time because there's this pent up demand for events right now, and Taylor Swift certainly driving it. So yeah.
Awesome. Now, Lynn, I want you to look right into the camera and give us your prediction. We're going to watch it. Let's hear it.
Say that.
Who's going to give you a prediction for the Super Bowl? Who's going to win?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna say Chiefs.
Kristin?
+1 to that, go Chiefs. I'm a Seahawks fan, so I cannot like.
I appreciate it. As a Giants fan, I get that.
I have to go with Chiefs too.
Come on, Paul.
I just hope both teams have fun.
That's a call.
In our industry, we don't have favorites because they're all potential future clients, right? Hopefully, the Niners and Chiefs, when they come to their senses, will realize the need to invest in proper food at the stadium. But certainly for us, no. Niners, I'll say, to go the opposite way.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. So I didn't prepare you guys. I'm going to let them ask questions. Why not? Let me stop talking. Anyone have any questions? You're going to come?
Good morning. I want to just ask about contingency planning around the big T word that we've all been discussing. Funny enough, yesterday I joked like, if this were a drinking game, we all took a shot every time someone said the word Taylor, we'd all be like, dead. Right? But one thing about her, she's kind of notorious for writing full albums after a breakup and like really kind of going hard on the ex. And so how do you as brand leaders think about what happens if you do leverage that celebrity like you gave examples of, and then it kind of goes the other way, and how do you approach that?
I'll take it. I think anyone who gets involved in social media takes that risk. So there's and years ago there were advertisers that just avoided social media altogether because of that. I think it's just part of the zeitgeist now. It's part of media. It's part of what you do. So there are always going to be advertisers that steer away from anything that could be a little controversial or something that could have a negative effect. But if you're on a lot of these social media platforms, like I said, that's a risk you take, and there's a lot of upside on the other side of it if something does take off.
And being in a financial services brand, that our compliance teams are all over us. But I do think that you have to strike a healthy balance. So Northwestern Mutual, a 166-year-old brand, we're on TikTok. And I dare say we're one of the top financial services brands, right? So I think that just goes to show the amount of enterprise commitment. But I have partners who are waiting in the wings should anything go south. We have a very thorough process of evaluating all of our influencers. They go through a check, no different than when we bring on new employees. So you got to weigh the costs and the benefits, and in our situation, the benefits outweigh the costs.
Hi, I thought I was going to field this to Ed first, but actually Lynn was already where my head was at. There are so many different partners to evaluate out there. Tell me about your process in evaluating the right fit for your brand. I'd like to, and also Ed, in advising your clients on how they go about finding the right partners.
So we have a lot of clients that we're dealing with, and as far as finding the right fit, it all comes from, like we said before, KPIs, objectives. What are you trying to do for that brand? What are you trying to do for that campaign? So that could change, by campaign, by time of the year. We also have a lot of clients, a lot of other clients that are tier 2, which that could change market by market depending on what their objectives are. So a lot of it is driven by what is the KPI, what are you trying to get done with the brand, and where and when. So I know that's a non-answer, but at the same time, we do want to make sure that anything that we do, as I said before, has a measurable outcome. That's something that is a non-negotiable. We need to know that it's achieving the goals that we have.
And I'll go quick on mine. For me, it's audience and mission, right? So ultimately, I see sports marketing as just one pillar and one element. I can say the same about any other brands. I'm just making it up, like a Yelp, a Thumbtack, an NFL, right? It's all about the reach of that audience and the commonality in mission and purpose.
And I'll add, even within the same brand, you have different objectives within the brand. So you could have, an overarching reach goal. You're buying the Super Bowl much differently than you buy something that's much narrower.
Hi, my question's for Kristin. So thinking about AI, you mentioned personalization. We'll stay in the realm of the fan experience. Excuse me. Totally understanding it can be very much part of the foundation where you're gleaning your insights from. But when you look at the next year or 2-year runway, of how much of that are you making fan-facing and consumer-facing? Are you looking to use your use activations to create surprise and delight moments? Because it's very unregulated still, right? Like you can't just throw like an AI into an experience because you can't really control how that fan will interact and the brand is on it, right? So when you think about from the consumer-facing side, how much are you seeing AI going to be part and parcel of like my fan experience that I can see?
Yeah, and we are actively doing some of that now. I think some of the examples I gave are what we're already doing. So we're giving fans experiences at that passion point of theirs during the game, in broadcast, consuming insights that are all sort of powered by AWS, artificial intelligence and machine learning. With Gen AI, that is sort of of course, hot topic right now and something that we're really focused on, building applications with our existing properties, many of which will be fan-facing. So we're sort of at that inflection point right now where we're actively building. The good news is all of our partners are super leaned in and they want to ensure that they're developing with us those fan-facing applications. And I did touch on personalization. I really do think that is what is going to become the most pervasive, because if you think about how we all consume, you're not just watching the game on TV, you're either sitting in the stand with your phone, you're sitting at home with your phone, and so you've got all of these different screens or experiences that you're consuming simultaneously. So it's like, how are you going to harness the power of all of those and individualize the experience for the fan based on how they want to engage with the information in the game.
Thank you, everyone.